Today we are covering Designing Microsoft Azure Infrastructure Solutions. To find the complete list of questions and answers, please go to the playlist link provided in the description. If you like this content, do like, share and subscribe to this channel. Question is, you plan to deploy an application named App1 that will run on 5 Azure virtual machines. Additional virtual machines will be deployed later to run App1. You need to recommend a solution to meet the following requirements for the virtual machines that will run App1. First, ensure that the virtual machines can authenticate to Azure Active Directory Azure AD to gain access to an Azure Key Vault, Azure Logic App instances, and an Azure SQL database. Second, avoid assigning new roles and permissions for Azure services when you deploy additional virtual machines. Third, avoid storing secrets and certificates on the virtual machines. Which type of identity should you include in the recommendation? Option A service principal that is configured to use a certificate. Option B a system assigned managed identity. Option C a service principal that is configured to use a client secret. Option D a user assigned managed identity. Correct answer is option D. Next question is, you have an Azure subscription. You need to recommend an Azure Kubernetes Service AKS solution that will use Linux nodes. The solution must meet the following requirements. First, minimize the time it takes to provision compute resources during scale-out operations. Second, support auto-scaling of Linux containers. Third, minimize administrative effort. Which scaling option should you recommend? Option A Virtual Kubernetes. Option B Cluster Autoscaler. Option C Virtual Nodes. Option D Horizontal Pod Autoscaler. Correct answer is option C. Next question is, you plan to deploy an app that will use an Azure storage account. You need to deploy the storage account. The solution must meet the following requirements. First, store the data of multiple users. Second, encrypt each user's data by using a separated key. Third, encrypt all the data in the storage account by using Microsoft keys or customer managed keys. What should you deploy? Option A Files in a general purpose V2 storage account. Option B Blobs in an Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 account. Option C Files in a Premium File Share Storage account. Option D Blobs in a General Purpose V2 Storage account. Correct answer is option B. Next question is, you have an Azure subscription. You need to deploy an Azure Kubernetes Service AKS solution that will use Windows Server 2019 nodes. The solution must meet the following requirements. First, minimize the time it takes to provision compute resources during scale-out operations. Second, support autoscaling of Windows Server containers. Which scaling option should you recommend? Option A Horizontal Pod Autoscaler. Option B Kubernetes version 1.20.2 or newer. Option C Cluster Autoscaler. Option D Virtual Nodes. Option E the Virtual Kubernetes ACI. Correct answer is option C. Next question is, you have an Azure subscription. You need to recommend a solution to provide developers with the ability to provision Azure virtual machines. The solution must meet the following requirements. First, only allow the creation of the virtual machines in a specific regions. Second, Only allow the creation of specific sizes of virtual machines. What should you include in the recommendation? Option A. Conditional access policies. Option B. Role-based access control RBAC. Option C. Azure Resource Manager ARM templates. Option D. Azure policy. Correct answer is option D.